channel, and if you're new, thank you for stopping by. I am Leah Lindeman, and my channel is Pen to Paper. Welcome. So today I'm really excited to actually dedicate this writer's advice issue that self-published writers have to a friend of mine who asked a question in my last AuthorTube video, which was basically how to support indie authors without spending a penny. And in there I talked about checking to see if the book of the self-published author was in your library and going ahead and asking your librarian to request it, as in one way of helping that indie author get exposure. And this is all without spending a dime. So a friend of mine, his name is Jonathan Butcher, which also, where is it now? I have read his self-published book, written by him and Leila Farouhi, as part of the Indie Readathon this month that I'm taking a part of. And this review will be coming in, well, on YouTube at the end of the month, and on Instagram very shortly, and Amazon and Goodreads. But he asked the question in my last AuthorTube video, how does a self-published author get into libraries? And so this will be a two-parter mini-series, which I'm really excited to get into today. Now I do have two different disclaimers, and I will address them when they pop up. But let's begin. Number one, go to your local library and start establishing a relationship with them, meaning become friends with the librarians there. And if it's a local library, now depending where you are, if it's a city library, obviously that might take some more time getting to know the librarians there because they might have more hands on deck. But for someone who lives in a very small town like I do, we do have a couple of them, but I see them quite regularly, and so that means just getting to know them and sharing about your life and asking them about their lives. It's building that relationship that you see perhaps booktubers building together, or author-tubers, or even just people online chatting. It's all about relationships, so start building that relationship with them. And then when your book comes out, you can say, hey, I've written a book, I'm a local author, would you be willing to support me and my work by having my work in your library for the general populace to read? And chances are, if you've built that strong relationship with them, they are more than happy and very willing to support you as an indie author, and they would actually be very excited to have your work on board, to show the people that go to that library that they are supporting local authors, which would be you. So that is step one, building the relationship and getting them to support you as a local author. Number two, local doesn't always mean just the library that you go to. Local could mean other counties around you, or other small towns around you, or even the bigger cities around you. So for me, that could be both. I live in near Lancaster, Ontario, which is Eastern Ontario, but there's a lot of different small branch libraries that are part of one. So my branch has a copy and another branch has a copy, which is great. But then I have Cornwall, which is the biggest city west of where I live, 25 minutes away, and the same thing there. Go to them and I say, hey, I'm a local author, would you be willing to have my book in your library? Now, I've also already established a relationship with them because I've hosted launch parties at their library using their conference rooms, and so I already have that relationship with the acquisitions librarian. Acquisitions librarian we'll get to in a little bit. But not only there, I also have made connections with the libraries east of me, which 25 minutes away. And there's a host of different towns and smaller cities east of me where they have been willing to have my books stocked in their library just because I frequent that part, their area quite frequently. So don't just be very narrow-minded in your focus. When I say local library, I mean the general vicinity locality. That could be a 50-mile radius from where you live. Number 3, this also is mostly on your part, and this part I actually have not technically finished up myself. I am in the process of doing this, but it is very important that you do. Now, you can have expanded distribution on Amazon. They do have that option. However, even Amazon has a disclaimer that even though you have chosen expanded distribution from Amazon, so that would be libraries, universities, anybody who requests your work, they do have a disclaimer saying that they may still not be able to get your books out in bulk to those institutions that ask for it. So it would be your best shot to actually sign up with IngramSpark's expanded distribution, because there it is guaranteed that any library, any institution whatsoever who wants copies of your books can get them from there. And what is very important for libraries too is that they are fully refundable and at full discount price from IngramSpark, not from Amazon. So that means that if you've already chosen expanded distribution from Amazon, which I have already done with my first 2 books, you need to turn that off and you need to move it over to IngramSpark, which I have done, but now I actually need to upload my manuscripts to IngramSpark. But once that's complete, then my books will have fully guaranteed expanded distribution on IngramSpark, and that way, if ever there's a library or an academic institution that wants my books, they can get it from there for sure. Number 4 is that now I did this actually before moving the expanded distribution from Amazon to IngramSpark, so it is possible, but again, I highly suggest that you move your expanded distribution from Amazon to IngramSpark first. But once you do, figure out your target audience and your target geography / history / unique feature that your book fits. So for example, I have my first book right here. I'm going to take it out so you can see it a little bit better. My first book is a historical fiction drama during the Halifax explosion of 1917. So where do you think I'm going to try to get it into libraries other than my local libraries of where I live? That's right. I'm going to call up the libraries in Halifax, which I already have, and hence this is why I'm giving this video, because I do have some experience already and it has been successful so far following these points. But my first book, I am still in the process of, but have already called multiple libraries to get my book into their libraries. Why are they going to want it? Because it's Halifax and because it's a special history marker in that province's history. So they're going to want titles, book content that relates to them because it's specific to them. So, however, disclaimer right here, just because if you are a self-published author, there is a good chance they will not take your book because you are self-published, which is unfortunate because the attitude of self-published versus traditional publishing, which one is better, has been changing, because just because you're self-published doesn't mean your work is less or less worthy than traditionally published work. But unfortunately, that still seems to be the case in some spheres. So you may get rejected just on this basis alone, which, if that's the case, then that's the case. So be it. But, so what I've done with this book is I have literally listed all the libraries in Halifax in the region that I think would pick this book up, and I have already called some of them, and some of them have already accepted. I did get a few rejections just because I was self-published, and you need to disclaim that when you're talking to the library. They're going to want to know, that you're self-published or traditionally published or even small press. You should be completely honest in all your dealings and communications. So, but I have already had several libraries pick it up and put it in their roster. So for this one here, my friend Jonathan Butcher, if you're watching this, this is a Persian fairy tale. So right here, you may not have, well, you could have geography, maybe not so much history, but a unique feature in that it's a Persian fairy tale. So look for those communities, Arabian communities, that have local libraries, or those local libraries that have a strong Arabian community presence, and approach them and say, I have a book, it's a Persian fairy tale, and I think it would work really well for your demographic of people who come to your library. And make a list of those libraries. It might take a little bit of digging and research, but it's well worth it if they take your book in, and you're going to have a band of loyal supporters for those who find out. I once did a book signing in an area for this book, in an area where I discovered was filled with by the Jewish community, which is great. But unfortunately, not many of my books were sold. That was the worst book signing I've ever had, actually, because all of them, or many of them, said that they would be interested in a World War II historical fiction book that had to do with the Jewish people. And my book just did not fit the demographics of that area, which is fine too. Now, some of them did say, try to get your book into our local library, and if you do, then, you know, if someone likes it, then they're going to refer it, and then we're all going to start reading it, and then it will just flow from there. Again, word of mouth is very, very strong. But that was just my experience in that particular community. It just didn't fly. So for your book, find that key feature, or that geographical feature, or that historical feature, and narrow down libraries that you know will want to take it. Same thing for my second book. It's set in BC. So I haven't worked on this one so much yet, but there's a list of libraries that I could hit up in Victoria, BC, and then basically the whole geographical route that my book takes. That would be key in approaching those libraries and seeing if they would take my book on. All right, number 5, disclaimer here. I have not attempted these steps at all. These steps are from any research that I have done, and also webinars that I have attended that have relayed that these steps would be key or very helpful in getting your books into libraries. So it's something that I will definitely be attempting in the future, but I cannot say from personal experience that this has worked. Already, from my personal experience, just doing the steps that I have already suggested have worked and have been successful. But this might give you a greater foot in the door, so I will mention them anyways. Getting your book into Baker & Taylor, Brodart, and Midwest library wholesalers. These are wholesalers that work with libraries to make books available to them. So it would be very beneficial for you to sign up your books to these wholesalers. Now, from what I understood in all the research that I've done and the webinars that I've listened to, is that it is a lengthy process. So that is something I will attempt in the future, but have not done so yet. So I can't say much on this point other than it would definitely probably be very beneficial for you to check out. Number 16, let's go back to that word or term, acquisitions librarian. There are different librarians. They're all not just generic librarians. So you need to know who is the right person to talk to when you start calling up libraries or emailing libraries. The librarian you want to speak to is the acquisitions librarian, because they are the librarian in charge of acquiring new titles into their roster, into their shelves that people are going to actually look at. So let's say you go online to the website of that particular library, and it may be listed there, and that's great. But if not, you just have to ask. So call them up or email them and ask, who is your acquisitions librarian? And if they don't have one, maybe it's a very small town with a very small library, they will redirect you to the person in charge of acquiring new titles. Don't start mass emailing the first librarian name that comes on the website and just start launching into, oh, will you take my book? This is all the information, because it's not very perceptive of you on your part, and it's a waste of their time, and it's a waste of your time, and they're not going to look at that. So make sure you do your research well. The last point in this particular video that I'm going to make is the query that you're going to send out. In the next video, we will talk about resources that you can provide your acquisitions librarian if they have said yes, they want to pick up your book, they want to have your book in stock, then the ways that you can be most helpful to them. Because really, I mean, yes, it's going to be helpful to you, but you shouldn't be doing this just to get something out of it. You want to be serving your community and the communities that are willing to have your books in their libraries. So this is very key, to always have that mindset that you are there to support them and not necessarily them to support you. It is a give and take situation. It is a relationship that you're building, not just give me everything I need so I can be the most successful. No. So when you send your query, please make sure that you have all this information, because it shows the librarian that you are professional, that you are mindful, and that you are ready with all the resources that they need to make this a successful transaction or acquisition on their part. So what do you need to have in the first part? Dear so-and-so, whatever their name is, you're going to give them your name, your book title, publishing date, and the company. So when your book was published. Now for company, if you're with a small press, great, you can stick that in, or a big press, but if you're not, you have to say you're self-published. Again, open communications. In your next paragraph, you're going to say that you are either putting out ads on Facebook, Instagram, local ads themselves through social media, or maybe a press release, or maybe you're going to be featured in a local newspaper to that area. And you can tell them that once these pieces come out, that you are redirecting their patrons or the people of that local area to their library to get copies of your book. You're also going to want to let them know the ISBN number and the genre of your book. And if you have reviews, which I highly suggest that you have strong written reviews for your book, that you also offer them to them if they would like to see those reviews. And this is where IngramSpark expanded distribution comes in. You can let them know that it's on IngramSpark, that is fully refundable. Hello, kitty. You want to be in the video? Yes? Don't you guys think she's so cute? She is. She's been doing a lot of meowing these nights. Not sure what's going on. So here you want to make sure that they know it's on IngramSpark, it's fully refundable, and at a full discount price, because that's what libraries, that's how they usually, when you offer your books to them, that is what they usually look for. Now, the next part is ebooks and audiobooks. Now, I think most of us indie authors have already put our books as an ebook. Maybe not as an audiobook, that's okay. But when you do your ebooks or your audiobooks, you want to have them available on Overdrive. Where do you get Overdrive from? I'm sure there's a website where you can go on Overdrive and upload these things. But I'm going to highly suggest another website. It's called draft2digital.com. And I'll put that link down below. And on Draft2Digital, you get to upload your manuscript as an ebook. Now, with the audiobook section, they are actually partners with Findaway Voices, which Findaway Voices makes your audiobook available on Audible and all other audiobook platforms. But now I'm going to be specifically talking about ebooks. So when you go to draft2digital.com, you can have your ebooks on every ebook platform available, including Kobo, Nook, And all those other smaller ones that I don't even know of or I don't use personally. There's also, what's that one now? Not Baker and Taylor. It starts with the B. Oh, there you go. Barnes & Noble. Okay, all that is available to you on Draft2Digital. It is seamless. It is easy. If you are a first-time author, or maybe you're not a first-time author, but you don't even know this resource, please go look up draft2digital.com, and you can upload your manuscript as an ebook, and it will go on all those platforms if you pick them. And included in that is Overdrive and also a couple of other library platforms where your ebooks can be available. Last but not least, in your query letter or your letter to the acquisitions librarian, you are going to want to make a review copy available to them as an ebook. So you're going to create a landing page in which they can actually go and download your book, or perhaps they would prefer a PDF and they want you to give it straight to them. You can do that in an email as well. So that is it for today. I know that's a lot of information, but I hope it's been beneficial to you. Next week is a booktube week, but next video session I will give you and tell you what resources you should have ready to give the acquisitions librarian to make this transaction, this acquisition, the best for you and for them, because it's all about serving the community. I think that's it. Yeah. If this has been helpful to you in your journey as a writer and your journey into getting your books into more people's hands, like this video and subscribe to this channel if you want similar content every week. Every week I post a video and I go back and forth between AuthorTube and BookTube, so you get both here. Have a great week and take care.